Now, since the beginning of the year, South Africa has hosted several G20 Tourism Working Group meetings across different provinces. And today, the inaugural Tourism Investment Summit will convene in Cape Town with a view to drive investment and develop a robust investment pipeline for South Africa's tourism industry. Our news anchor Liezl Wilson has been monitoring those developments at the summit for us. And the better part of the morning, we'll also be bringing you live crossings to Liezl. So here she is once more. Liezl, good morning. And this investment summit, of course, bringing a lot of hope, hopefully, to many involved in the tourism industry for expanding their businesses.
Well, very good morning. Welcome back. We're still here live at the Tourism Investment Summit that is taking place at the V&A waterfront, in fact, at the Investec Limited buildings. And there's a lot that's expected on the program today because, as mentioned, economic growth and creating jobs is key, but also just beyond it being a leisure activity and perhaps promoting destinations. It's about exploring decisions, also just doing business differently and development at large. And so as we explore all of this further, I'm now going to be joined by UN Tourism Communications Specialist Kojo Bentham-Williams. We'll be exploring what tourism has obviously done for the sector and in terms of G20 countries. If we look at some of the stats emerging, we were just looking at how G20 countries, as we know, contribute about 85% of the global GDP. Beyond that, 2/3 of the world's population, 75% of global trade at large, and 69% of that obviously coming through with tourism, and that's in G20 countries alone. So the potential to leverage is enormous. And so as we explore possibilities and probabilities, Kojo, welcome. I'm going to ask you to join us and welcome our viewers. Perhaps talk to us about the importance of the summit in relation to the UN tourism and what's expected on that front as we continue and edge closer to it starting.
Well, thank you so much. I think that the tourism investment summit is very important to development of tourism. And again, if you look at the UN tourism, is a United Nations agency responsible for sustainable tourism and accessible tourism. So we've been a knowledge partner of this event, and we've been working with South Africa and G20, and this is the third working session of which the action will be adopted. So it's been an important milestone, and the fact that South Africa is hosting this in many ways is not just South Africa, it's Africa. And the stats that you just mentioned, it's also, if you care to know, it's 70% of the source market in Africa come from these countries. So this summit is very important. And think about the fact that yes, you can have tourism, but the enablers of tourism are in infrastructure and the other things. So we expect that this summit will be able to, as it were, invite investors and organizations that want to help push the cause of tourism, because tourism is a key economic driver.
Kojo, you said a lot, and I know this is going to be explored even further as the summit kicks off. But if we're looking at post-COVID trends as well, what are those trends that are emerging? Experiential, experiences come through more so now than ever. Tell us a little bit more about how key that is to the growth, and perhaps also just looking at the value chain at large with regards to that.
No, perfect. And I think you're spot on. I mean, if you look at what happened, we couldn't travel and everything was limited. And what we've seen is that product offering is being some of the things that is driving the change now. And as you mentioned, you realize that destinations and what people are looking for, yearning for, is the experiences. So necessarily, obviously, you would have the beaches, you have the table mounting, but then the experiences that makes one, be able to relate, the human element, the human touch. So that's one aspect of it. And also you realize that things around gastronomy is taking shape. And if you look at South Africa, of course, you're a test case yourself, culinary, wine, etc. We're beginning to make it part of what we sell as people. And tourism is the way we live, culture, as well. So what we are seeing is myriad of things is shaping how we are moving tourism. But if you look at the African perspective, we're beginning to see that experiential is taking root, and people are beginning to look at the human capital development, of which you realize that people are beginning to apply themselves. So it's something that has become key in the things that we are seeing shaping tourism these days.
It's cultural exchanges, it's agency as well. And to your point, it's also been reiterated how this is not just for South Africa, it's a gateway for the continent as well. We're looking at some of the other bigger challenges. You've got geopolitics, you've got climate change as well. Yeah. We're looking at sustainable growth, equality, equity as well. But how do you think that's also factored in and how important it is for the summit going forward?
I think that, what is happening in terms of the geopolitics and all what we're seeing, tourism is the peace driver. So in all of things that we see and the tensions that you see, you realize that people are going to sit on the table as well. And again, it's something that we need to be cognizant of, the fact that tourism allows us to be able to be one. So you can talk about, South-South cooperation. I mean, you look at the West, but one thing tourism does is that it has no barrier, and once we eliminate things like visa facilitation and all of that, I think we are able to use tourism as a key driver and make it as a national development agenda for our country.
Well, Kojo, obviously there's so much more to explore. I want to thank you for your time with us here on the SABC at this hour. Looking forward to many, many more sentiments and thoughts coming through. Kojo Bentham-Williams, UN Tourism Specialist Communications, just joining us here this morning to chat about the importance of tourism with regards to, development, particularly amongst G20 countries, how we can also leverage on some of those opportunities. And we'll continue to bring you some of that coverage. As I mentioned earlier on, 8:30 is when that official program kickstarts. So we'll get all those preparations in check, and we'll continue to bring you that as it continues. For now, it's back to you in studio. We'll see you in just a bit.